Scheduler will give you additional power and flexibility when it comes to meeting your more complex scheduling needs. Schedules can be based on organizational policies, numbers of employees needed based on workload, planned and unplanned absences, etc. The key benefits of using Scheduler are that you can control labor costs by making more informed scheduling decisions. You can improve workforce productivity by aligning staff coverage to fluctuating business demand. You can minimize compliance risk by automatically enforcing scheduling policies, labor laws, and union rules. You can drive continuous improvement by measuring scheduling effectiveness, and you can simplify schedule creation and management so managers can focus on strategic priorities. Today we will take a look at how you can create and maintain schedules across departments. We will talk about how you can cover open shifts, handle shift changes, reduce overtime using scheduling constraints, and budget properly using our pay estimation tool. That being said, let's take a look at how we can set up and manage a schedule. Here on the dashboard, you can see that we have a Start widget enabled, which will help the company administrator manage different tasks, such as developing and maintaining a schedule. You can manage schedule preferences, view and edit the schedule planner, add shift types, etc. We're going to focus on the planner today. And here we have a screen that is showing us all of the schedules that have been created for this company. You can set up separate schedules across different departments. However, in my example, we're just taking a look at one schedule across the entire company. From this screen, you'll notice that there are a couple of icons here on the left-hand side of the report. These icons will take me to different views of the schedule. I can view this schedule by employee or by cost center. And I can also take a look at the daily view of this schedule as well. We will take a look at these different views in just a moment, but the next icon here will take you to the planner settings screen. Here you can see the dates for this planner. In this case, we're looking at a weekly schedule, but you can define the cycle length in the planner configuration settings. You can also define when the day starts. So it can start at midnight, the same day, or even the previous day. You will also be able to assign the manager responsible for managing this schedule. So in other words, the manager who can assign shifts, make edits, etc. You also want to assign the employees who are going to be displayed within this schedule. Now these settings are initially set up in your master planner configuration settings and will carry over to each planner, but as you can see, you do have the ability to override these settings for each weekly schedule. The last two icons that we see here will allow you to delete the planner, or you can clone this schedule planner. Cloning this planner will create an exact copy of this schedule from the previous week so that it gives you a jumping off point that you can tweak as needed. Now you also do have the ability to add a new planner from scratch, which will pull up a blank schedule with a list of all of the open shifts that need to be assigned. Now let's take a look at an example of a planner that's already been started. We are taking a look at the schedule planner by employee view, and this is where we will spend the majority of our time today. Now before we get to work on this planner, I want to quickly show you the other views. This is a view of the schedule broken down by cost center. This report can be beneficial to ensure that there aren't any gaps in coverage within any given cost center. We can also get a breakout of the schedule by day. You can also collapse the rows to get a nicer view. Now you also have the ability to group this by cost center to get a better breakdown of the schedule by employees in each cost center per day. Alright, so now let's jump back to our view by employee. And this is an example of a planner that is in process of being completed. Remember, when you add a new schedule from scratch, it will create a blank schedule in which you can assign all open shifts on a blank canvas. Now at the bottom of the screen, you will notice that you can view this as a full screen view, which will allow you to have more real estate to see the full schedule. Let's focus on Monday's schedule here. All right, so if you scroll to the bottom of this screen, you're going to notice that we have a coverage graph. This graph will identify how many shifts were available versus how many were filled. The blue indicates the shifts that have been filled, while the red represents the open shifts. And if you hover over the graph, it will show you the number of shifts that are represented. All right, so back up at the top of the screen here, any open shifts will be displayed. To assign the shifts, you can do a number of things. You have the ability to drag and drop the appropriate shift and assign it to the employee. You can also click on the schedule for that person. So in this case, let's take a look at Paul. We can see that Paul is not scheduled today, and if we click on the schedule line for Paul, we will now be able to select from a list of all of the open shifts. So I will go ahead and select the shift here for him. And now you can see that he has been scheduled for this shift. Another way to add a shift is to click on the open shift itself, and then you can assign it to an employee. In this case, let's assign the cashier shift to Ashley. We have now assigned all of the open shifts on Monday, but if you wanted to create a new shift, you can do that as well by just clicking in the window itself, and then you will be prompted to add a shift on the fly. Once you do create a new shift, you can assign it to the appropriate person, similar to what I showed you previously. Now let's talk about how we can go about editing a shift. In this case, let's go ahead and use Andrew as our example here. When we click on the shift itself, you can see that you have the option to delete the shift, you can unassign the shift, you can add a note, edit the shift, as well as copy shifts using the copy-paste functionality. So let's say that Andrew is going to work half of his day as a bagger and the other half of his day working as a cashier. So we would simply click on the Edit Shift button, and this is where you can change when the employee is scheduled for the shift. You have the ability to change the cost center that they're working in, and this is also where you can split the shift. So as you can see, you would simply put in the new time here, and you would be able to select the appropriate cost center. So in this case, the time out of the bagger position would be 12 p.m. And in the second shift, we're going to start that at 12 p.m. And we want to change that shift type to cashier and the cost center to cashier as well. And then once you're finished, you can save that. And now you can see that his shift has been split in two and has been divided on the planner. You can set up work time preferences for employees, which can be set to create automatic shifts based on their work time preferences, or you can just use those as a guideline. In this case, I'm going to use the work time preferences just as a reference while I'm scheduling my employees. The employees' preferences are indicated on the schedule with the dotted box. You also have the ability to swap schedules based on work time preferences, or if an employee simply needs to make a change. In this case, Kyle and Maria are not scheduled based on their work time preferences. So to do a shift swap, you can use your control key and then click on both of the shifts. Now you have the option to swap the selected shifts. And as you can see, this has changed both of their shifts based on their work time preferences. Now that I've shown you how you will be able to set up and manage shifts, I would like to move on and talk about different rules or constraints that you can set up for the schedule. You can set up rules so that you get flagged when an employee works over a certain number of hours per week. So for example, when an employee reaches 40 hours, there can be a flag which will help reduce overtime costs. You can also set constraints to flag when somebody has worked over a certain number of hours per day, or if they work more than a certain number of consecutive days based on your company policies. A constraint can also be set up when you schedule someone on their scheduled day off or their preferred day off, And you can also require a certain skill set to be eligible for a specific shift type, and you can set a constraint to flag if an employee is not qualified to work in that specific shift. You will notice under the number of violations column that this is where you can easily identify if there are any schedule constraints that you need to review before you move forward with posting your schedule. So let's take a quick look at an example of a constraint. In this case, we have a constraint flagged here because we have scheduled somebody to work on their preferred day off. So the constraint violation looks a little different than a normal shift. It is represented by a thinner red line, and if you click on the red constraint, you will notice that you can edit the shift just as you would with any other shift. Here you have the option to override the constraint if this employee should still be required to work this shift despite it being their preferred day off. You also do have the ability to assign this shift to another employee to accommodate this employee's preferred work time. So in this case, I'm just going to override this constraint. Okay, so as you can see, this is no longer showing up as a constraint violation for this employee. Now, once you've filled all of the open shifts and reviewed any scheduling constraints, you can then create a snapshot of this schedule in its current view. Creating a snapshot is just saving the schedule. This way, it's saved for you to view later. You can also view an audit trail to see any changes that were made to the schedule. As you can see, you can determine who made the change, when the change was made, the old value versus the new value, and which IP address the change was made from. Now you also have the option to leave notes against the schedule. This tool will actually allow you to run the employees through the pay calculation profile based on their scheduled time to determine the estimated pay for that week. During your planner setup, you can identify a maximum budgeted amount for the planner. You can also set up a constraint that will flag if you exceed that budgeted amount. Once the schedule is ready to be posted, you can click on the Post Schedule button. If a change needs to be made after a schedule has been posted, the Schedule Manager can rerun the time and labor management shift creation rules within the schedule profile. So what happens after it's posted? Well, the schedule will go through a workflow process that will ultimately update the schedules for the employees to view within their employee self-service portal. An email notification can go out to all users to alert them that their schedule is ready to be viewed. Now, we also do have the option to allow employees to review their schedule before it gets posted so that they can add or remove shifts. To do this, the planner must be in add drop mode. So from back within the planner settings, this is where we can make the option available to allow the employees to review and make edits to their schedule. So we want to make sure that we select the add drop mode option. A good example of this is if perhaps a manager is creating a schedule 2 weeks in advance. The manager will then be able to open the planner up for review for a set period of time. During that period of time, the employees can add or remove shifts as needed. Once the manager is ready to post the schedule, they would simply take this out of the add drop mode before they post the final schedule. That being said, let's take a quick look at how an employee can view and edit their schedule. Ashley is an employee who wants to view her schedule before it gets posted. She can access her planners in add drop mode within her profile. To access her profile, she would navigate under the My Account menu option to access her profile. Here she can review any planners that are in add drop mode by clicking on the View Planner Shifts icon. All of the shifts with a check mark are the shifts that she currently has been assigned to. The other shifts are all of the open shifts that she can pick up. So this report is showing her which shifts and times are available, and then she can select the shift by either placing a check mark next to the shift that she wants to add, or if she removes the check mark, then it will remove the shift from her schedule. Now this report will also identify if there is a constraint. For example, if you have a rule set up stating that she cannot work more than a certain number of hours in a week, and she adds a shift to put her over that threshold, then it will show up on the planner with that violation, and it is up to the manager to determine how to proceed. Also within the employee's profile, they would be able to review or edit their work time preferences. This will speak directly to the planner to alert the planner manager when an employee prefers to work and when they prefer to be scheduled off. Remember, you can also set up a constraint around these work time preferences as well. Now once a schedule gets posted, an employee has the ability to view their full schedule under the Scheduler menu option. If we click on the Schedule by Day, we can see when they are scheduled to work. So we can go ahead and collapse these rows to get a little bit of a nicer view, and we can easily identify when Ashley is scheduled to work. If an employee needed to make a change to their schedule and put in a time off request, she can easily do that again within her employee self-service portal. So under the My Account menu option, she has the ability to request time off, and she can put in her time off request, which will go through a workflow approval process. Once it's been approved, a time off shift will be created on her schedule. With that, we have completed our demo. I hope you were able to leave here today with a better understanding of how you can use this tool to cover open shifts, handle shift changes, reduce overtime using scheduling constraints, and budget more efficiently using our pay estimation tool. Thank you for your time, and please contact us for more information.